This is 101.3 KPCG.FM. I'm Aaron Eagle, and I'm a camper here at SEP. I live here in Edmond, Oklahoma. Here's a fun fact. Sweet potatoes aren't actually potatoes. Instead of the nightshade family, they are related to the morning glory family, originated in Central and South America. This is Aaron Eagle. You're listening to 101.3 KPCG.
You're listening to 101.3 KPCG.FM, and my name is Darby Hallett. I'm a camper here at SEP in Dorm 1G, and I'm from Vancouver in Washington State. Not the Canadian Vancouver. People tend to get that mixed around. I would say that if you were to describe SEP in one phrase, it would be busy but rewarding. Every activity we have done so far has been very exhausting, challenging, long, but also because of the instruction you receive, you improve so much, and I would recommend it to anyone. This is Darby Hallett, and you're listening to 101.3 KPCG.FM. Enjoy another cello piece.
You're listening to 101.3 KPCG.FM. I'm Ezekiel Malone, and I am a camper at this year's summer educational program. I live right here in Edmond, Oklahoma, and was a violinist in the production of Celtic Throne. But I also play the viola, and am often asked what the difference between those two instruments is, so I thought I'd explain that right now. The viola is larger, and its strings have a lower sound than that of the violin. But interestingly, the viola is too small to fully resonate, and that gives it an imperfect sound. This is Ezekiel Malone, and you're listening to 101.3 KPCG.FM.
You're listening to 101.3 KPCG.FM. My name is Jacob Hessong, a camper at SEP from Dorm 2B, where God has blessed us with several morning thunderstorms which have provided for amazing afternoon cloud cover and temperatures 10 degrees cooler than forecasted for mid-July, which have provided for an awesome experience for all of the campers. I've just loved it. This is Jacob Hessong. Thank you for listening to 101.3 KPCG.
You're listening to 101.3.kpcg.fm. I'm Elizabeth Spence. I'm 17 years old, and I'm in Dorm 4G. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada. At the beginning of SEP, each camper went through benchmarks, which tested their abilities in activities such as softball, soccer, volleyball, basketballs, and other skills such as throwing, running, agility, and strength. Many campers showed real talent during this day as it was very sweaty and very hot without having too much water. Although it was a very hard day, I felt like it was very uniting because we all felt sore from pushing ourselves to our limits. However, I also think it was a great activity to start with because we can see how much we improved in just 3 weeks of camp. You're listening to 101.3.kpcg.
You're listening to 101.3 KPCG. This is Haley Sander. I'm a 16-year-old camper from Ohio at the 2020 Summer Educational Program. My favorite new activity at SEP this year is rugby. Like many of the girls, I'd never played it before this summer, and I think we all picked it up pretty quickly. Some of us, myself included, got to show off our new skills at the rugby marquee match this past Thursday evening, and we all had a lot of fun with that, especially when we got ice-cold LaCroix at the end. This is Haley Sander, and you're listening to 101.3 KPCG.FM.
You're listening to 101.3 KPCG on the FM dial. This is Michaela Jones, and I'm a 17-year-old camper from South Vienna, Ohio. This year of SEP has provided many campers the opportunity to learn and experience new things. For me, I had the chance to learn a bit about leatherworking and even make a small book cover. This was something I never would have done on my own. This is just an example of one of the opportunities presented to the youth of God's church. I'm Michaela Jones, and this is 101.3 KPCG.
Hey, this is 101.3 KPCG.FM. I'm Jeremiah Seabury, and I'm a first-time camper here at SEP in Dorm 6B. I'm also from Baltimore, Maryland. Here at SEP, we play a lot of different sports. One of my favorites is actually basketball, and it's very intense because Mr. Flurry runs us through different drills. A lot of them involve shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, and layups. They also make you hustle a lot. Once again, I'm Jeremiah Seabury, and this is 101.3 KPCG.FM. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to 101.3 KPCG on the FM dial. This is Jeremiah Hostetler. I'm a camper here at SEP, and I'm from Sturgis, Michigan. I've been to camp 4 times, and something interesting about SEP is that for the first time here at camp, all of the campers and instructors participate in Ignition, a group exercise we do every morning before breakfast. I love how after Ignition, I can be able to have enough energy to be able to push myself through the daily activities. I'm Jeremiah Hostetler, and you're listening to KPCG Radio.
Hello, this is 101.3 KCPG. My name is Ariana Bogan, and I am a camper at SEP in Dorm 3G, and this is my first year at camp. I am also from Griffin, Georgia. Soccer here at SEP has impacted me the most because it has taught me to push through even when I feel like giving up. I played soccer at home in Georgia, but I disliked it because the coaches weren't so encouraging. Here at SEP, Mr. McDonald and the instructors are so much nicer and don't make you feel bad about not knowing how to play. When I play with them, I don't feel like giving up. I'm Ariana Bogan, and this is KCPG.
You're listening to KPCG.FM. This is Rose Bergsma. I'm a camper from 6G, and this is my first year at summer camp. I'm from Ottawa, Canada. At camp this year, each camper gets to take part in a book club. I'm reading How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. One of the lessons I've learned from this book that is smiles are contagious. This is Rose Bergsma, and you're listening to 101.3 KPCG.FM.
Hello, you're listening to 101.3 KPCG on the FM dial. I'm Parker Campbell from South Carolina, and I'm counselor of Dorm 2B. Being a counselor has been one of the most rewarding opportunities I've ever been given. It's sort of like being a temporary parent to 10 strapping young boys. There are a lot of challenges that come along the way, particularly that of promoting unity and camaraderie within the dorm. And we have our ups and downs as we work through sports and various activities together. But when we achieve success and grow as a miniature family within the dorm, there are really few things that bring more joy. Seeing my boys unite and grow has been one of the most inspiring blessings of being a counselor, and I'm really grateful that I've had the opportunity to do so. So once again, this is Parker Campbell, and you're listening to 101.3 KPCG.
This is 101.3 KPCG. My name is Audrey Loker, and I am a sports instructor here at SEP 2020. I'm from Edmond, Oklahoma. I think one of the most unique aspects of SEP this year was beginning camp with the Celtic Throne performance. Seeing a live performance in Armstrong Auditorium can be a life-changing opportunity. I was so glad that this show was included in SEP this year, since a long trip down to Edmond isn't always a possibility for many. The Celtic Throne performance involved amazing light effects, sound effects, and powerful choreography. It was a combination of years of hard work, stress, and sweat by those involved, and I think also a great example of what you're able to accomplish if you keep up and develop your talents as a teen. This is Audrey Loker, and you're listening to KPCG.FM.